Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Was Betrayed and Became Vergil Sparda movie. Before we start, please go support KingCrownedClown for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made, there will be some mistaken characters' gender, but of course Issei is a male. Preview prologue. Now I understand. The leaders were clear. Without power, you're nothing. They humiliated me in front of everyone there. I loved them and they just laughed at me. They left with my brother, even though they knew that about me. I will fulfill my ambition. I will be so strong, stronger than them, that they will even ask me for help. Later, I will come and kick your butt, Dante, but for now, I will do something in this world. I am Vergil Sparda, formerly known as Hyodou Issei. Vergil. I spent so much time looking for you. Who are you? Issei said, scared. The question is rather serious. Who were we, V? What? You died before we were united and were reincarnated in this pathetic world. What? Just kidding. I'm nobody, I'm just trash and an embarrassment to everyone. I have nothing that makes me special. I'm just another low-class human. Pathetic, said the creature, punching Issei in the face. The one I know would sooner cut his vocal cords. Before he said such a stupid thing. You're pathetic. There are people who mock me for being weak and humiliated me in front of everyone. They're right. Without power, nothing can be achieved. The weak die and the strong live. It's always been that way. You're right about that, nothing can be achieved without power. Hyodou Issei. The creature stabbed him and said as it took him in. That's why let's unite again and become Vergil Sparda once more. At that both began to emanate a great light. This way. She gathered her hair and said. Thanks factions. They've shown me how to be cruel. I'd forgotten about that feeling of killing. I'd forgotten so many things. I will achieve my goal and become stronger. Long ago. I wasn't the best at everything. But I did what I could to get noticed. I admire my brother. Everyone follows him and I want to be someone like him. Able to walk alongside him in battle. I fell in love, but they were empty feelings. They knew my feelings and mocked me, or rather. They knew how to use that to their advantage, making me do the impossible for them. I helped Asia from the beginning. I saved her from the fall that had killed my brother the first time. I begged Rias to bring her back to life. She listened and did. For days, I spent a lot of time with Asia, even showing her what a family is. Although I don't know what that is, since I've never known it myself. But a few days later. She became attached to my older brother. I wanted to make plans with her, since I loved her very much. But she always told me that I couldn't, since Kyosuke would show her what I wanted to show her. I understood ahead of time. Asia looked at my brother with eyes of love. It was funny how she was noticing someone who wasn't a demon. Just a human. So I moved away from them. Despite not being a reincarnated demon, I managed to train and save myself from many dangerous occasions. I asked Kaneko and Kiba if they could give me some advice or defense lessons. But they rejected me at first, citing many things more important than mine. I was sad about that. Kiba-senpai once said that he would be my best friend. I've heard many promises, but they've never kept them. I approached everyone multiple times. But they pushed me aside. I went through many situations and moments with each of them. I loved Rias for who she was, not for what she had. Help Akeno accept herself and see the reality of things with her father. I showed Asia what I never had. Help Kaneko that her Nekomata side wasn't evil. Rossweisse was someone with low self-esteem, given that Auden left her. I helped her as much as I could and helped her overcome her traumas. Help Ravel overcome his shyness. Irina. I loved her as a child. It was impossible for her, who made that promise to marry us as adults, to reject me and call that promise pathetic. Hiroka rejected me. Claiming she wanted children with someone strong, not an ordinary human. Valerie confessed to me that she had a crush on me. But that she couldn't be with me because I was weak. Each and every one of them hurt me from the day I met them. Every faction leader treated me indifferently and humiliated me many times. Despite being human, I always showed potential in battle. But no one ever noticed it and I was just humiliated. I had left. I saw Kyosuke who was apparently being confessed to by those people I once loved. I cried and left once and for all. A year later. The gap opened in what appeared to be the Kuo forest. The being walked under the moonlight. Leaving themselves exposed. Multiple magic circles appeared in front of him. Identified. The being turned his face and looked at them. It's been a while, leaders. That voice. Maybe you are. The CE multiple female voices were heard saying his name. The idea. Everyone turns around and sees that something is crying behind the guy's back. This one discovers a blanket and carries it. Calm down, Nero. Everything's fine, Dad's here. Everyone is in shock. Issei, do you? He sees that the baby stops crying and looks at them all again. Years have passed since the faction leaders. He said he was turning around to see them, hinting at his suspicions. The Laurel Care Center. Everyone was in shock. That white-haired man was the one responsible for creating a space-dimensional distortion. Seriously, you are Hyodou Issei. The being who was still holding the baby looked at him and said to confirm his suspicions. Years have passed, faction leaders. It was him. It will have changed greatly. Hair. Height. Voice. But it was the real Issei was the. How is it possible? They left you for dead. We searched for you and found your spilled blood. Shhhh, calm down, Nero, go to sleep. Dad has things to do. He turns them over and looks at them. I do not have, nor should I be accountable to anyone. I'm leaving. This one takes Yamato and cuts through reality. Creating a portal. He turns around and starts walking, if it weren't for the fact that the multiple voices calling him made him stop. Issei waits. How is that possible? Valerie, it's been a while. She still looks at him in surprise. Tell me that child isn't yours. You probably found him somewhere and decided to adopt him, right? Vergil laughs, turns around. He sees Nero wide awake and decides to carry him, revealing his face. No, this child here is my son. He carries my blood, my legacy running through his veins. Something inside Valerie became sad. I thought you loved me, she said, crying for the first time in her life. Showing everyone there that the White Emperor Dragon wasn't as cruel as she'd been told. Vergil looks at her straight and says. I love you. Ha, he laughed loudly and sarcastically. I would never fall in love with someone as pathetic and weak as you, breaking her down more and more. Valerie couldn't stand it any longer and left the place at high speed. Vergil laughs at the last thing he saw in her. He ignores the calls of those who were present. Until. Issei. Vergil quickly looks for the voice of the person who called him and says. Isuke, it's been a while. Really, it's you. Making his way through the crowd. I can't believe it. I thought you were dead. But knowing that you are alive fills me with happiness. Reaching out to him. Isuke notices how he was taller and his features made him look like the older brother. Vergil looks him up and down and says. You look smaller. Seriously, there are things I want to tell you. Things I never told you, bro. This is not the place or time to talk. I know. Vergil turns around and walks through the portal. Don't worry, I'll find you and we'll talk. Hyodou laughs nostalgically. Isuke. But as he was leaving, someone arrived. Isuke, it's true that he's alive. That's right, Issei didn't really die. Thank heavens, said a girl. He really is someone who does not die easily. Naya, too bad I didn't see it. He has always been strong. I knew my friend couldn't have died. Thank God he made this possible. As his senpai I can pamper him. I will be the one who takes care of him. Issei-sen is someone strong. Asuga thinks. I wonder what their reactions will be, not just theirs. But our parents' reactions when they learn that he made them grandparents. Ibu. Don't trust him, something about him gave me a bad thought. You didn't notice, did you? What thing? He had no human aura. What are you talking about? Nephilim. What does that mean? Ibu. He may be your brother, but you have to be careful with that boy. But Vergil. This path goes somewhat through the city. He still had money left. Since Dante was paid in gold coins. He thought he'd finally get out of debt. But. Vergil had to leave and protect his son. They may have defeated Mundus, but there are still beings who seek revenge on their father. Nero was still a baby, and Vergil couldn't always take care of him. That's why he opted for retirement. So he borrowed Dante's payment and returned to his old, pathetic world, where the beings here couldn't even come close to him. He had to wait for Nero to grow up, train him, and return to his own world to show Dante who was better. Vergil was never sociable or someone who smiled. But his previous version as Issei contaminated that bad part of him. They were both the same side of the coin. He saw Nero staring at him. Vergil smiled slightly and said. He's my son. This rode and stayed in a hotel. The closest one available. Elsewhere. I should have known. If I rejected him for being weak, I knew he would hate me. That desire of mine to have someone strong by my side made my heart feel like this now. Comrade, I'm sorry. But I warned you, power was never everything. I know, but I. Ugh. Comrade, scream Albion. The Laurel Carcade. Albion said sadly as he realized what was happening to Valerie. Explanations. Vergil was now at the center of everything. After seeing the faction leaders the day before, only to be ignored and talk to his brother instead. Vergil stayed in a small hotel. But now that he had a responsibility, he had to be more cautious. Before, he didn't worry about anything, but now with a little one, everything was different. I wake up to the caresses of a little Nero towards his father. Vergil picked him up and heard a growl from him. He laughs and says. "You're hungry, aren't you?" Little Nero smiled. Vergil walks, takes his trench coat and leaves the hotel with Nero in his arms. Walking down the street, this was the center of attention for everyone there. It was very unusual to see a white-haired man, who women considered beautiful, with a baby. They found it incredible to see a man and a baby alone. And they just asked. Will he be married, divorced or widowed? Vergil paid no attention to any women along the way, he just continued on his way. Upon arriving at the center in Kuo, he went to do some shopping. First he had to settle somewhere. He stopped thinking and went with Nero to get something to eat. There would be time later to think about what would come next. Elsewhere. Isuke was at home thinking. He smiles and feels nostalgic for having seen his younger brother alive and very healthy again. Although the least was left to him now. He was surprised to learn that he was now the uncle of a cute white-haired baby. From what I saw. It must be at least less than a year old. What happened to you to make you like this now? He said while looking at the sky. Vergil had already done what was necessary. After a while, he located a house and made arrangements to buy it, since by that same day he and Nero were already settled there. After half a day he made the move, bought furniture and everything he needed. Vergil walks into Nero's new room. He smiles and sees him asleep in his crib. Press Nero. This one goes down to the living room. He walks, takes his trench coat and takes Yamato and leaves the house. But not before applying some magic to the house and preventing any magical entity of any kind from entering and wanting to do something stupid. Some time later. Thanks for coming, Issei. I'm here now, said Vergil, seeing his brother Kaisuke sitting. I know why you summoned me, and I also think I owe you an explanation of what's been going on all this time. I'll tell you that I spent a year here, but where I went, 10 years passed. What I mean is that my current age is 26 years old. Kaisuke in shock. So you. Yes, I was in the other world, my world. So you're descended from a demon and an angel. That's what you mean by Nephilim. That's how it is. So what about Nero's mother? She died, she saved our son from those demons. Upon learning of his death, I exploded in rage and single-handedly annihilated all the demons that threatened our survival. That Dante, your twin brother. He's in that world. Yes, I came here to make sure no one touches my son. When he grows up, I'll make sure he's ready for anyone who comes for us. Kaisuke Sanri. Brother, you've been through a lot and I'd love to be involved in your life and my nephew's. Vergil smiles. And what will you do for the moment, said Kaisuke. I've thought about it. But I still can't think of anything at the moment. Besides, those pathetic factions are curious about me. And it's not necessary to know that they've asked you to find out about me. That's how it is. If there are any questions, tell them I'm not interested in being tied to their ranks. Nero and I don't need anyone, especially weak people. I have to go. See you sometime soon. I'll send you my address so you can get to know Nero better. Do. Vergil walks, takes Yamato and cuts the dimension and leaves. I told you, Issei had a son, Kaisuke said to certain people. That same day I told you it would be useless to try anything with him. After everything that happened with you. I have to go, he said as he left. Leaving behind some women who were crying in silence upon learning the truth about the now vile man. Issei, forgive me for everything I made you go through. So that guy is powerful. I have an idea, but I know it would be useless to try. But that child is his son, sinister smile. Friend, I'm sorry. But this disease will deteriorate your body day after day. There's no cure for this. It doesn't matter, after all. I came to know what it feels like to be loved once, and I finally understood that feeling. I couldn't accept it at the time because of my ambition, but fortunately, I understood that Issei was my destiny, and I rejected him. This is my price. I will die knowing what it is to love and be loved. Thank you for everything, Albion. Valerie said, crying. The meeting and the rejection. A few days later. Luz, you don't need to say it twice, Azazel. You realize that that boy and that sword have been disturbing this world ever since they arrived. That baby also had a lot of power. And I'm not saying he was a prodigy. Prodigy is a bit of an understatement for that age. I don't know the details. Since Kaisuke didn't want to talk about it even though they met. How do you know? He sent spies, but they couldn't get close to him because he gave off a power that made them stay away. You're saying that guy. That's how it is. I'm not sure, but it could be a threat, Michael claimed. That's how it is. So what do you suggest? For now, we must have a full meeting. We must vote and decide what to do about Hyodou Issei and his son. We must reunite both celestial dragons. We must put pressure on Kaisuke to make him come and make his intentions clear now that he's in this world. See you in 3 days, concluded the Demon King. With Vergil. He was playing with Nero, since he bought some things, it occurred to him that maybe he could give him toys or some kind of gift. I don't think he likes a gun at the moment, he said, watching Nero playing with a ball. Even though you are 8 months old, you are very hyperactive, I smile seeing him laugh. This laughs. It's true, I promised Kayasuke a few days ago that I would meet you. Nero, he called his son, what do you think about getting out of here and seeing this place? Nero laughs and starts to talk, but it was just babbling, which made him laugh. I'll take that as a yes, said Vergil, carrying him as they left the house. Elsewhere. How long does it take for my body to completely deteriorate? The illness lasts 1 month. So I only have a few days left. I'm sorry to say yes. Valerie looks at the sky and thinks of a story about how her story with him could have ended. When he confessed that he loved her, the following happened. Flashback time ago. Valerie, I know I've only known you for a short time, and I know you're destined to fight my brother to the death. I know that if that happens, I'll regret not having said it before. Valerie, I love you and I. Laughter. Valerie said, Issei, surprised by those laughs of hers. Kid, I don't know what you're playing at. Yeah, you're cute. But. You're a weak human. I admit you have your charm, and maybe I like you, but you're weak and I don't need bulk in my gear. Valerie gets up and walks around, turns her face, and says the following. I'm sorry, but a weakling doesn't go well with the strongest white empress dragon in history. She spreads her wings, notices how Issei has his gaze lowered, and a tear falls from it. Valerie said, Albion. Shut up. You know I won't carry dead weight on my team. Power has never been everything. You who know about me, you should know it. Valerie, like Gales, I perceive feelings in the same way, and I know that those feelings were truly pure love. Ha. That guy is pathetic, Kuroka says he'll do whatever she and the Gremory girls tell him to do. Valerie, never regret it. It's even worse to see a dragon as sad about love as he felt just now for you. I need someone who's my equal. The greatest hacker Yuko in history. Then flashback. You were right, Albion. It's uglier to see a dragon sad because of love. Albion says nothing and just lets his life pass by. Park. Issei had arrived at the park. He sits down and watches Nero playing with other babies. He laughs when he sees him happy. Issei. Kayasuke, come sit down. This one sits next to this one and says. That's how it is. It's all of you, brother. It makes sense. He's a Sparta, and it makes sense he should be the best. Can I go with him and meet him, asked Kayasuke. Of course. He's your nephew and you have the right to meet him. I hope that when mom and dad meet him, it will be their best day yet. Since they found out you're alive, they've been planning something for you to visit them one of these days. Nero changes his smile to a serious face. They know about Nero and me. That's right. Rias and the other girls talked about it with them. That had to be it. Kayasuke, I call this one Vergil. I don't want to see them in person, and I certainly don't want them to meet my son. But Issei, they never acknowledged me as their son. So I hope you understand that I don't want those people in my life, much less in my son's. I understand. Thank you. Kayasuke walks away with Nero and starts playing with him. You know I've felt your presence for a while now. True, said Vergil with his back turned. From the shadows they come out. Rias. Bakeno. Asia. Kaneko. Irina. Xenovia. Ravel. Ross. Kuroka. Whereas. He gets up and looks at them. What Kayasuke said about him was true. It really changed a lot. That's your son, said Rias, watching Nero from afar in his uncle's arms. That's how it is. He has your eyes, he said, smiling. Issei, we are truly sorry for what happened between us a while ago. What happened between us? If you already know that. There was never a between us, Vergil claims. Issei-kun, I'm sorry about that day. I didn't mean to laugh at our promise we made as children, Irina said sadly. Each girl was apologizing for something that happened between them and Issei in the past. There's no point in apologizing for something that happened years ago. What are you talking about? It's only been a year since you left, said Rias. Kayasuke didn't tell them anything, right? Issei, that. Wherever I went, a decade passed. That left everyone in shock. Also, why do they apologize? I think it's better to bury that behind us. I know you can start from scratch. Start that. You know what was between us. You don't understand. I don't need someone like you in my life. What? It's just me and my son. I don't need someone weak like you in my life. Issei, in our promise. You mean we'll get married when we grow up? That's just something kids do. Besides, I think that promise is pathetic, he said, laughing in front of Irina, who was crying. I want children with Issei, Naya said, both Nekomata sisters. Both are too weak to carry my children in their wombs, so I'll pass. Keep this in mind. I don't need you in my life. You're weak and you still need to mature before you want anything. Issei's path leaving every girl with a broken heart. Issei, who were you talking to, said his brother. With no one important. Come on, I'll buy the food, he said as he left the park. A sad past. Narrates Issei. Vergil continues on his way and passes by the girls who were once part of his heart. I couldn't describe what they looked like, but I really did. Their eyes showed great sadness and regret. I couldn't say for sure if they were sincere in their words when they said what they felt for him again. But they really felt bad for the bad treatment and mockery he made of them because of what really happened a long time ago, in which they felt that lively flame inside them. But now what was left was no longer ashes. Just pure wind. We were really cruel to him in the past. I thought you were laughing and crying. Flashback. You know, Irina. I like you, said Issei with firmness in his words. Irina was surprised and by chance she simply laughed at his declaration of his first love. Issei, seeing her laughter, thought she was playing a joke on him and said. I remember our promise as children, Irina. Before you left, I swore before God that I would take you to the altar properly. Issei smiled, finally saying what he felt. But not everything was rosy. You're talking about that promise, Irina laughed again. Leave that to the Issei children. Remember, we belong to different worlds. You are a human and I am an angel. Besides, that was just kidding. I'm sorry, but Kayasuke asked me to meet with him about the meeting. By the way, no one should know about it, not even you. And Irina left without looking back to see how poor Issei was after that cruel little act of treatment by the second Archangel Michael. Issei gacho su murata. People who were there saw this and were amazed that someone would remember such a promise with such love, even after all the years that followed. It doesn't matter if everyone looks at you, the most humiliating thing for any man in this situation is that they feel sorry for you. Issei shed a few tears and walked aimlessly. Below, far away from there. Someone with black hair and ears saw that scene, and instead of feeling anything for that sad scene, he just laughed and said a few words. I bet this will kill Valerie with laughter if that stupid human already said he loved her a while ago. Ahaha, poor fool. I'm sure he didn't die thanks to Kayasuke Naya. According to what Shirin told me, her parents are fed up with him and want to do something about it, but her brother is protecting him. Pathetic, he said as he disappeared into the darkness. I am Sei. His gaze was dull. I wish someone was there to tell me everything would be okay. He wanted his mother to comfort him with a few words. I wanted to feel some affection from someone. He's always been there for his friends. When Akeno felt sad about her mother's death and was remembered by her father. Issei was at the temple every day watching over her, trying to keep her from doing anything stupid. But his Kouhai told him. Senpai, everything will be okay. May his friend Kiba, to whom he gave a photo of his friends, which he found at the place where they were brutalized as children, help him. But his friends helped him at this moment. The road, and on the road I heard laughter. I decided to walk because I recognized that laughter. It was them talking. Everything about him fell apart when Rias and company made fun of him. Ha ha ha. You know, Issei does everything I tell him to do without hesitation, said Rias. Akeno laughed at that and just mocked him for his feelings towards them. Each one of them knew what he felt and yet they only took advantage of him. You know. I don't know what that was just now, but I think he confessed to me, said Irina next to Xenovia. They were all surprised and made him tell everything. When the story was over, everyone laughed. Issei was very upset about that last thing and preferred not to hear anything about it and just left crying. Issei Itado, said Kayasuke sadly for having seen what his heart felt right now. That boy is Brokaibu. Blues drag. I didn't want to believe it, but I realized that those who claimed to be my friends were just worse than demons, he said angrily as he left. Then flashback. Each one felt the same as him or maybe uglier. Irina's wings began to fall without her realizing it. Kaneko and Kuroka felt something darken inside them. Akeno's gaze lost its shine. Asia began to lose that touch that made her who she was. Ross just looked down. Ravel felt her heart break. Xenovia felt her heartache. And you laughed. She darkened her gaze. Something inside her made her sad inside. Vergil arrived home. Looking for his son, he came to his room and saw him playing. Who apparently played or fought with his teddy bear. He smiles and carries it. Spinning it around and making people laugh. I will never let anyone hurt you, Nero. Remember. You are the son of Vergil Sparda, son of the legendary Dark Knight and the strongest angel in the world. Nero laughs and hugs his father's head. He places this on his arm. How about a walk in the park? This one smiles and walks. Huig. I have to do something about it. In your state you can only stand. I don't care. They'll attack him soon, and your son is in danger if I don't warn you, but Valerie, in her attempt to run, fell while her body was breaking more and more from the dragon's fall. Hold on, Valerie. I must help him, I owe it to him. They shouldn't have done it. Vergil walked in past very close to where he made it clear that he does not want nor need any girl from Rias Gremory's group and clan, whom he would have once wished for or done everything possible to be there with them, but everything was ruined. One had him by her side giving her false hope. According to her, she was his friend and gave him more than he had ever received in his life. One despite what he did for her made fun of him and his feelings. His childhood friend mocked a promise that he did remember and longed with all his heart to be with her and dedicate his life to making her eternally happy. I help you accept who you were and that forgiveness does exist. He gave a lot to overcome his past traumas. I help him even when no one gave him a hand. She rejected his destiny for power and humiliated him in the worst way. She made him hate himself for being human and made him think that he would always be alone and that no one would love him. Each of them suffered for him today, just as he once suffered for them. But who was there when he needed it? Nobody. Vergil took a few steps and reached where Kyosuke and Nero were. He didn't say anything and just carried Nero and followed his brother. A few hours passed. Vergil was now at home. He was reading a book while watching his son sleep in his crib. Nero smiles Vergil. Some time later. Vergil was walking with Nero in his arms. I had decided that it would be good to do some things and what better on a quiet day like today. Both were in the district. This one would collide with someone because Nero covered his eyes. But when he opened them and realized who he had collided with, his expression changed. Was it destiny or was it just a cycle I had to close? Issei. It's been a while, Mrs. and Mr. Hyodou. Both were his parents who had expressions of excitement and shock at the sudden change. They let the way he'd referred to them go because their son was there. They mourned him for a long time, seeing their mistakes as parents. Issei. His mother began to whisper his name affectionately. She wanted to hug him but everything changed when Issei rejected her hug by taking her shoulder and preventing her from taking another step. Please don't do that, I don't like hugs. They wanted to talk and where they were there were a lot of people and they were starting to attract attention. Let's sit over there, suggested Vergil, towards the less traveled place. They both nod, fearfully and emotionally listening. You've really changed. You're eating well. I hope it's healthy. I couldn't stand to see my son eating junk food, his mother said, inspecting his body. I'm fine on my own, he said without any feeling. The girls told us a lot about you, even though we didn't really believe it. In the end, I realize you're a real man. Vergil was really running out of patience. You know they are sad about your absence. When we get back home they'll be happy. Plus we already want to meet our grandson. Return home. I don't know that word well. What are you talking about, Issei? I won't be coming home, much less with you. But we are your parents. Now they are, and they recognize that I'm their son. Well, I was. But you. Enough of this nonsense, Mrs. Hyodou. You and I know they never loved me. They didn't even call me their son in public. Just tell me what they want and that's it. We love your son. Don't call me son, he said loudly. Nia nia nia. The parents realized that something was crying on Nero's back. Perhaps it will be she was very excited to know that her grandson was there. Vergil uncovers the face of a crying Nero and calms him down. We can carry it, she said crying. I really would prefer not to. But we are their grandparents. Vergil stands up and says. So show me a single memory of you by my side, supporting me in everything. She doesn't say anything and realizes something. That's right. You were never by my side. You never celebrated a single birthday of mine. You never took me seriously. You come here thinking we could be a family when we never were. You're a hypocrite. You and that guy over there who claims to be my father. What I will say is that I don't want them in my life, much less my sons. Even though I don't know what a father or mother's love is. I will be better than you could ever be. So I hope this is the last time I see you in my life. Because you're dead to me. I'm only grateful for one thing. That was bringing me into this world. I owe you nothing. Nor do you owe me. I don't want to see you again. Don't come near me or my son. Vergil turns his back and says. Never look for me. Bye-bye. This one leaves without looking back. The SSS if he had turned around he would have realized that they had something broken inside them. They realized something. There was never any of that which he calls love. They ignored him for a long time. They despised him. They compared him to Kyosuke all the time. She criticized Issei a lot when he tried hard to please them. They never said anything nice to him. They were never there when he cried. They never celebrated his birthday. And the worst thing. They didn't care when he disappeared. Now both chestnuts had their hearts broken. Realizing that Issei was never a bad son. When she fell ill, Issei was there to care for her. But she scorned him. He realized that Issei wasn't a bad son. Whenever he could, he helped his father. When he saw that he wasn't doing it right because no one explained how to do it, Issei humiliated him and sent him to his room without food. They lost a son. And even worse. The opportunity to meet his grandson. She fell to the ground while crying and dropping the things she had bought. It's special. A rattle that came out of the bag. It had a note on it. Your grandson, with love, your grandparents. Virgil arrived home and felt something inside him. The weight had been lifted. He sighed in relief and decided to forget that moment forever. This way he went to the living room, left Nero on the floor and went to the kitchen. So this is that boy's son. You don't look much. But I can sense a great power latent within you. The master will be pleased to have his new source of power. The hooded being charged Nero and disappeared. Nero, your food is ready, let's go. Nero, where are you? Virgil began searching, but there was no trace of him. The magical signature. Someone came in and Virgil breathed heavily and he released all his power as a sign that he would leave. Resulting in an explosion. The smoke cleared and Virgil was seen in his demonic form. They've made a big mistake, damn it. Virgil shot into the sky. My son. My anger, which was once unleashed when I saw the woman I loved with all my being, lying lifeless on the ground while holding our son. Despite having found out, she still had Nero in her arms. It was raining that day and I saw it with pain and helplessness. I saw her there lifeless. I walked, took Nero and my beloved. I gently carried his body and gave him a dignified burial. I turned back. My gaze was down. At my son. I picked him up and he was sleeping soundly. But he had been crying. I took Yamato and opened a portal. The MC Knight. This is boring, said a white-haired man with his feet on the table. And that he feels a presence outside. Virgil's serious tone. What the hell are you doing now, Virgil? Do you want to fight? Dante said arrogantly. Virgil walked forward and said nothing. Until he stood in front of him. What's going on, what is that thing you're carrying? Is it a baby? Dante is joking. Virgil looked up and said, extending his arm. Please just take care of him, I'll come as soon as I'm done with him once and for all. He took care of him until he saw the baby still asleep. Dante was surprised, picked him up, and said. Maybe you are, he said incredulously. But Virgil walked on and left. I don't come back after a day. The only thing that happened when he arrived was that he was covered in blood and had multiple wounds both externally and internally. He didn't say anything else, he just arrived. He saw his son and left. Present. Virgil was angry. A lot of anger and he would look for the person responsible. But where to start? The demons, they'll know of anyone stupid enough to do something like that. In that. The light invades him. Virgil flew into the sky while unsheathing Yamato and disappears into a portal made by it. Ugh, he spit out some blood. Valerie resists. Don't worry, I've already found ways around this. I can fight for 10 minutes, 11 would be risky. I've been here trying to figure out what might be going on. I need clear information so I can do something. Hiroka shouldn't be long for me. I just have to wait here and everything will be fine. Just avoid doing anything beyond your capabilities. Any effort would be very risky. Remember that you now have limits and there are many of them. Relax. I'm the strongest in history. Nothing's going to stop me, she laughed as she lay down and rested until reinforcements arrived. Valerie's dream. She was seeing a young Issei. She remembers how she met him and to tell the truth it was something good and stupid at the same time. When the first faction meeting took place. Where all the leaders met after years of discord between them. The chestnut tree was hiding, or rather. He had fallen asleep. The day before, he'd been working on his homework until he fell asleep in class and then remained that way until today. It happened as usual, and Valerie betrayed Azazel and left the other side. The enemy, the Chaos Brigade. When she tried to provoke Kyosuke into a serious fight and after he'd done so by treacherously attacking her former friends, he unleashed his fury and attacked her with everything he had in store. He even sent her flying away. Issei was sleeping. Until someone crashed and slammed into the bottom. The surprised man went to check it out and there he met that girl, whose eyes he fell head over heels for. Love at first sight. Without knowing about her, he quickly helped her. She woke up quickly from the blow and what she saw anyway were those brown eyes, making something inside her beat firmly. But she pushed him away abruptly and left at full speed and left. The only thing he could hear was Issei saying. What beautiful eyes, he said in amazement. End of dream. Valerie woke up abruptly and that memory made her heart ache. She put her hand to her forehead and cried. How blind I was at that moment, she said as tears flowed from her eyes. I would have imagined for just a minute that all this had been a dream, but no. This is not a dream, it's a sad nightmare. Virgil arrived at the underworld. Upon setting foot there, I alert every high-ranking demon present. This was the first time I saw that place. As far back as he can remember, he was never invited to be or participate in those places. This one says. It doesn't look that great, let's say. I thought it would be different from what I imagined, but I'm disappointed with this place. They will come soon. Just wait, Nero, Dad will come and save you. Multiple magic circles manifested in the place. Some belonging to different demonic houses. Vergil stood with his back turned, not looking. An elite guard ordered him to identify himself, but he only said. I won't talk to servants, bring your leader here without even looking at him. He gets annoyed, but he knows that doing something would be stupid. He knows how to measure strength and knows that he wouldn't even be compared to him, so he chooses to retreat and go for his leader. Until. A certain blonde heir stepped forward. Hey you idiot, if you know what's good for you, turn yourself in. Oh, wow, you've got a mouth. I thought dogs didn't talk, he said, turning around and looking in surprise at the person who had confronted him. He mumbles and says. So the guy who said that taking it out on me would calm his anger because my brother had humiliated him in front of his family would calm down. Razor Phoenix said normally. Oh, you know who I am. If you apologize and beg for mercy, I'll overlook what you just said. This one says. What an idiot. Why should I kneel before someone who is weak and doesn't have the power to confront me? Razor gets angry and was going to do something, but reinforcements had arrived. Beyond Imau had appeared before Razor and faced Vergil. Hyodou Issei said the Crimson Redeed in surprise. Hyodou, hahaha. I remember you now, you're that idiot who was taught his place by that diary Razor. Because you took the trouble to come. I'll take care of this garbage. Stop Razor, said the Demon King. But it was too late as Razor used his flames to attack with everything he had. And as a result, a huge amount of power collided and as a result everything around exploded. There was no need, Mass Amas, I already took care of that idiot. But he saw and the Redeed's face showed fear. The smoke cleared and Vergil walked as if nothing had happened. Everyone was surprised and terrified at the same time. Vergil looked at everyone and said. That's all you have, if so I'm sorry that all demons are as weak as you. Shut up and attack Razor desperate. Shut your mouth and learn your place, Vergil said before making his move, which no one was able to see. He appeared behind the 4 demon kings as he sheathed his katana, and they heard the piercing scream of the phoenix demon as it fell to the ground. The 5 kings quickly turn around and stand on guard. I didn't come here to fight, so stop pretending to be strong, because I can smell your fear, I came here to talk. Everyone tenses up and maintains composure. What have you come for? I'm looking for information about someone. Who is it about? From the idiot who dared to kidnap my son. Thanks Kuroka. What happened to you? I notice your power is very low. It's a long story. But first, take me to the underworld. There's something I need to discuss with him. I feel his presence there. Who's? From Issei, she said leaning on her. Tia said Kuroka surprised. Let's go quickly, time is of the essence now. Hi. Answers. We have to talk, Lucifer said Vergil seriously while he saw the Mau staring at him. Mau-sama, let us take care of this clown. A noble with military power spoke. It was a coincidence that Razor lost. Leave it to us, this guy is in enemy territory. Everyone calm down, that guy is the security's brother. Everyone is surprised to learn that the brother of the faction pillar and war hero is that guy. Without doing or saying anything else, all those who threatened his life bowed and left. What do you need and how did you get here, to my domains? Said the Mau with a very neutral look towards Vergil. Vergil, calmer but still alert, replied. The demon came into my home and took my son. With that said, you know why I came. Lucifer is surprised, he had him kept under surveillance, but that was never part of the plan, it was just to keep an eye on him and make sure he didn't do anything. For days, I've noticed demonic auras watching my house. I didn't do anything about it. But it's come to this, messing with my son, I won't tolerate it, Vergil said, drawing Yamato. I just came to tell you that if my son was kidnapped by someone who serves you or someone on your throne, you will be the cause of the extinction of all demons, no matter if they are innocent or not, I will hunt until I find the last of your kind. You come here and think you can threaten me and my people, Hyodou Issei said Zerzich releasing a great aura of pressure. The other mass, who were likely to fight due to the situation, chose to unleash their full power. Since Vergil's arrival on their world, the balance of power has been unbalanced. The whole place began to feel a great oppression of power. Getting to the point where the entire demonic world trembled from the sudden display of great power that was being made by 4 great kings, which meant that for the 4 of them to do that, it was because they were fighting against someone very powerful. The 4 mass stood in front, looking seriously at Vergil, who still remained motionless. Until. Vergil raised his face and looked at them. I expected more from this world, but I see that you are still weak. You being the four kings of this world have not even impressed me with your powers." That left everyone somewhat shocked. It didn't even intimidate him. "I didn't come here to threaten, I came to warn you. But in case they're not going to say anything, I think I should give them an incentive." Vergil took Yamato and made a slash in the wind, causing a huge wave that made all the Yandere and company retreat. So much power was that even the capital Lilith suffered some problems. Some fell to the ground. Others moved abruptly and the demon kings pushed them back. They quickly rose up and confronted the kings. They were about to wage an all-out war between a person who knew no bounds and all the demons. Until everyone wait, a voice was heard coming from a magic circle that appeared close to them. Where did the Gremory clan come from, along with Issei's brother? The Citri clan. And finally, who you didn't expect to see. Akryuko, Valerie, Lucifer and her team. The three groups looked at Issei in surprise. Except for Kuroka and Valerie. Who was being held by Kuroka. "Stop, there is no reason to reach this extreme. I try to calm the spirits." I said, staring at him, along with her clan. "Brother, is everything okay?" Kayasuke approached Vergil. But Vergil ignored him and walked forward. "I came to make it clear what will happen to you and your people if I find out that you took my son." This one was going to leave but. "Stop, Issei, I know something about your son's whereabouts." Vergil stops and looks back. "If you have something to say, do it quickly. Time is of the essence and my son is in danger." Valerie said seriously. Valerie let go of Kuroka and walked away, a little dazed. Everyone saw this and wondered what was wrong with her. She walked with effort and stood in front of him. I swallow and look at him. There are still remains of people we thought were extinct a year ago. But it seems they are starting to resurface. "Speak now." The Chaos Brigade returned. They'd been hiding since the war against them and I came to a conclusion. When you came into this world, you showed enormous potential for power and that alarmed them. But they saw your son and he also showed signs of being a prodigy. So they took him away so they could extract his power or something else. Valerie finished her story. Vergil acted normal. But when he heard the word something else, he got so angry. But the underworld itself trembled before the enormous power that Vergil was unleashing right now. Everyone was alarmed. The power he was unleashing easily surpassed that of the four demon kings and those of Valerie and Kayasuke. Getting to the point where the ground began to crack and everyone was thrown back. "Brother, you must stop. You'll kill someone with that power." Kayasuke tried to calm the Vergil in front of him, but that wasn't enough to bring him back to his senses. But from one moment to another the released power returned to Vergil. When everything returned to normal, everyone saw a cloud of dust surrounding him. Little by little it dissipated. Many blue rays came out from there. When the entire cloud of smoke finally subsided, many were shocked. Where Issei should have been, there was a blue demon. Breathing heavily. "Issei, is it you?" Valerie was approaching little by little. When I was in front of him. Vergil breathed normally and his transformation was the same. "If you know anything else, I ask you to take me to that place." "I'm sorry. But I don't know where they could have taken your son. There was a base, but it was abandoned a long time ago. I'm sorry, I don't know more." Vergil felt enormous helplessness for not doing more. This path went sideways and disappeared as if it were a bolt of lightning. The only thing Valerie heard was that before leaving he thanked her. "Counterattack." "Thank you," said Vergil as he disappeared from everyone's sight. Valerie smiled. She could have done something good for him today. But it's still not enough. "Kuroka," she called her friend. "What's up?" she said. "I need you to use your Nekomata power and transfer it to me." Valerie Albion's voice sounded in his mind. "If I believe that's what you're going to do, you know you're draining your last bit of strength." "Calm down, Albion. I know that the Drake carrier happened to him when he received a treatment from the Yaukase to have his vitality at 100. Yes, but in your case. You're dying. That will only shorten your lifespan. You'll die if you fight." Valerie smiles and says. "I won't do it. See how I can tip the scales of this in my hands." But that she left with her friend. The four Mayus and the Gremory clan and Citri were left there. "Let's warn the other faction leaders. Rissavam is back and dares to bother our biggest pain in the neck. We have to take advantage of this opportunity. Indirectly we will have support from Vergil. If what I think he's doing now is hunting down all the members. I know what I'm saying is selfish, but we can take this opportunity and finish off the Chaos Brigade and its last leader once and for all," said the Crimson Mau. Kayasuke was in a small internal struggle. He was supposed to have finished him off, how could that be? "I didn't feel good about his death, if I had, my nephew." He denies it and out of nowhere he expels his power along with his armor. "Kayasuke-san, what are you doing?" said Rias. "It's not obvious, it's my fault this is happening. If I had checked his body this wouldn't be happening and my nephew wouldn't be in your hands now." "Calm down, think with a cool head. We don't know where to start. If you go on your own, you could be ambushed or worse. Being captured and being double-crossed by Issei-kun, Rias said, doing her best to keep her friend from committing suicide. But that had a positive effect, since thinking that cooled him down, and he realized it was true. As long as we all agree, said the Mao, to make a transport circle. Vergil had arrived at the base, which had already been abandoned. This one cut through the entrance with a slash. He came in and saw everything was dark. Just thinking about his son and what they were doing to him made him lose control a little, and he started destroying everything in his path. Give up meetings. We don't know who to trust, said the Mao. What do you mean Mao don't know? Said Auden. That they kept it a secret for so long is odd. Someone must have helped them. There's a possible traitor. That's what I draw conclusions from. So what should we do? If we move now, we'll draw attention. We might unsettle them. I propose we bring our best warriors. I knew Mao Dono's decision. They've most likely reached the human world. If that were possible, we'd be at a disadvantage. What does it refer to? They've acted cleverly by hiding from us for so long. The human world, who would suspect? I agree with the old man, said Azazel. So what are we waiting for? Let's move our greatest warriors into battle. I wanted to talk about something before that. Brisavum took Issei's son, or whatever his current name is. Vergil. I think he sensed he has a lot of power and plans to take everything from him. My assumptions aren't entirely correct. But I think this is beyond our imagination. You're saying that guy. Yes, most likely by having it he will get stronger and do something. This will be a mountain of corpses. We shouldn't take that boy lightly. We know. He threatened to wipe out our entire race if he found out that we were responsible for his son's kidnapping. Let's not waste any more time. Time is everything today. Each leader went off in search of his best warrior. Isuke was restless. Well, Valerie. I have gathered as much senjutsu as possible. You can carry all this power, she said doubtfully. There's no time, Kuroka. I must save him. Okay, just resist it. She said while taking her hands, and a blue aura surrounded Kuroka to then be transmitted to Valerie. Wow, this feels amazing. That's not all the power I've mustered yet. There's still more to come. Just hang in there. 2. Change of scene. So this kid is your son, he said, looking Nero up and down. Wow, this kid has so much power. Haha, Risavum laughed. You'll be a good source of power, he said, carrying him. My lord. Any report? No, it seems like no one knows about us. I think that child's father doesn't know where to look. Excellent. If I harness this kid's full power and confront him, I'll have 2 batteries of power at my feet. Make preparations. When that man comes, I will make him see his end, he said, laughing somewhat arrogantly. Maximum power. Kuroka gathered a large and immense mass of pure senjutsu energy into herself. Valerie saw all that power in total shock. Maybe I can assimilate it. Calm down, comrade, just like Gale's, your greatest wish is to save that baby from the Chaos Brigade. Thanks to that. Your wish is pure and noble. You will even achieve a new potential. The maximum power, beyond the Juggernaut drive or the Diabolos dragon. With this, you will be the strongest in history. There are some here from the Dividing who support you in your noble wish. So much so that after refusing to give you the key to unleash my true power, the lock that contained all that power has already been opened. I'm feeling weird, somehow I feel much stronger, she said while her hair shook violently and her hair lit up. This is my limit, Valerie, receive all my power that I have gathered, she said, transferring all her senjutsu to him. Valerie, feeling the pressure, began to feel a lot of pain. All her internal channels of power were drowning from so much power. Before he had unleashed that power through his dragon wings, but now, he had to make all that incredible power his own. Calm down, Valerie, I'll support you in this, said Albion, while his spirit manifested behind her and contained said power. Elsewhere. Each leader was scattered to all corners of the earth. The Gremory and Citri groups were grouped into 2 fighting styles that they were going to carry out. The Citri as vanguard. And the Gremory as attack. While Xenovia, Irina and Rossweisse would be the ones watching their backs. Asia and the other Citri members would be the ones to heal those who were wounded in the fight. And finally, the kings and queens remained. Saji Kiba and Kayasuke would be the ones chosen to fight at the forefront of their masters. The groups were dispensed with. It was time for the hunt. With Vergil. He had found a base that was located far away from the city of Lilith. And let's say it wasn't the best thing for those who were waiting for their leaders' orders to attack the city. Well, that's the base. There were those with the power of an upper class. Vergil had a serious expression. He had cut off the head of what was possibly a lapdog of that Risavum. For demons, they knew how to fight. Although that was just a child's play to me, he said, tearing apart some of the remaining people. He entered what was a laboratory and was surprised to see what was there. Inside a capsule there was a kind of dragon. Vergil looks closely. And said dragon opens his eyes. Vergil was preparing to eliminate every living trace from that place. Everything that organization has touched has been destroyed to its core. This one moved away, but in doing so, said dragon scratched a capsule with its claws. Vergil was about to leave, but he saw those eyes. And he sensed that said dragon had had a terrible time there. I knew what kind of look that was, it was the one he once made when he was young and tried hard to make those around him happy, and they made fun of him. The helplessness and pain were reflected in the poor dragon. Said Vergil cutting the glass, freeing the dragon. Get out now, you're free, he said. Leaving behind a dragon extremely grateful to the one who put an end to his captors who had tortured him for so long. Said dragon expelled an immense flame of fire that blew up the entire base. Going towards the human world. Vinpov. Valerie smiled with greatness. Across from her was the headquarters of Risivum Lavan Lucifer. Better known as his grandfather's bastard. I had a lot of unfinished business with him, but right now there was one priority. She thought of Issei and if they decided it was noble and sincere. That boy did more for her than any other person had ever done in their entire life. She owed her life to that old chestnut tree, whom she has loved ever since. She walked through the doors being surrounded by many people of other races. She smiled and from one moment to the next she had killed those who crossed her path. I felt absolute power within her. In that moment, I was on par with a god. Even though it only takes minutes or seconds to equal or even surpass them. Right at that moment, all that power was hers and it still hadn't diminished. She flew and entered the castle. With the leaders. They had taken advantage of the fact that most of the bases had left the place because the energy of power alerted them and they went to the underworld. They knew that Vergil was currently taking on the strongest in the underworld. This gave them the advantage of not wasting their energy as they planned to use their full power against Risivum. Minutes later. They were all standing in front of Risivum's base. Right in front of them was their worst and greatest enemy. I'm coming for you, Nero, said Kayasuk, leaving everyone behind. He drove off at top speed. With Vergil. He noticed something strange in the air. He looked around and said. I found you bastard, he said, cutting the dimension. The power of two celestials together. The power of two celestials. Kayasuk had left at full speed. Iosen waited. Each leader tried to stop him, but it was useless. His anger was making him stronger. They knew this wouldn't end well. Let's all go in now. Valerie walked calmly. Eliminating everyone who crossed his path left and right. Without even wearing the armor and still having that power was incredible. To be a dragon who had surpassed a god at that moment was astonishing, she said as she continued on to the central headquarters where little Nero and Risivum were. Valerie smiles as she sees herself surrounded by more than 40 demons, judging well their power levels rival a high class or even more. Valerie smiles and says. Are you going to stand there or are you going to attack? Seeing that they weren't doing anything, she throws herself into close combat with her rivals. Kayasuk was burning with anger. Without any compassion and with Ascalon in hand, he had already cut down and murdered his enemies. The anger was so immense that even the Juggernaut drive could activate on its own and wipe out everything. Despite only seeing my brother again a few days ago. And having a small life to protect. I failed you, brother. But I still won't stop, said Kayasuk, activating the promotion tonight to obtain greater speed, being boosted by Dreg. Your conviction is good, my friend, your desires continue to reach deep into the boosted gear. What does that mean, Dreg? Not only that time Kyoto that you unlocked my maximum power, like when I fought with Albion in the past. But the former wielders, those who kept some of my power when they died in the past, now they are depositing that power in the center of the boosted gear, forming something like a lake. Enter the mental space and immerse yourself. By doing so you will have power beyond the devil dragon. You will have power that surpasses an Ibu god. Kayasuk entered the mental space. And there he saw all the ancient Red Emperor dragons. They nodded and Kayasuk walked aside. I looked and there was the lake. Its color varied in different shades. Do it, dragon boy, said Elsha. Without warning, Kayasuk walked and began to sink into the lake. Out of the mental space. Kayasuk walked with a smile. It's time to go for you, little Nero. Risivum lab. This one was with a smile. So the two celestials come for me and on top of that they've become stronger he. Eggs. No matter how much they have strengthened themselves, they will never beat me. True baby, seeing Nero who was in a capsule where they were now absorbing his energies. How much is left? Lord, this child's power is not easy to decipher, but right now the power that has been taken from him is enough to fight and win against Ubero's office. Risivum is surprised, he didn't know someone could have such power at that age. This one smiles and says. Make the preparations. Yes, sir. Just a little longer. And soon my source will make me a god. If I once wanted great Rojo at my feet. Now I'll be the future. Only when I have mastered his full power will I be able to fight his father. Two birds with one stone, he said, laughing like never before. But the leaders. They were just now finishing off an army of 500 demons who were in command of the base's headquarters. The four mass joined forces and finished off the one who was in command. Braphia's brother Lucifuge. They could have been defeated if not for the help of a mysterious being who restored their entire source of magic and power to its maximum. Thanks to that they managed to attack him with everything. While the archangels and angels were finishing off the bases. Azazel, along with some dragons following Tannen, completely destroyed the primary facility. The Norse gods flanked. Now shouted the Gremory group while they distracted Euclid. In doing so, all the leaders gathered in the sky and with their most powerful magic formed a pentagon. Something like that. Upon impact. Everyone was exhausted. How was it possible that this guy almost defeated us? I don't know, but it had to do with that person's son, said Auden. The first time I saw them both, I didn't feel much for the father. But that child, that day I was terrified just by feeling his strength. You noticed it, said the Mau. That's how it is. That child had great power, even though he was a baby, that's not even possible. I'm not sure, but now I'm starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together. They kidnapped him. Just like they did with Office. Everyone understands that. They're going to take their power and with that. We must go there quickly and stop them. They were about to move, but an explosion caught the leader's attention. They saw two silhouettes fall in front of them. As the smoke cleared they saw who they were. Valerie, Kayasuk-san, said the group's Jis. Both were bleeding from the head and looked injured. What happened to them? That damn, said brother Hyodou. Damn old man, said Valerie, coughing up blood. Hahaha. They give up, but I still want to play. Damn you, I won't forgive you. Ready, said Kaio. Hi, said Valerie, rebuilding the armor that was almost shattered. Balance breaker, he said at the same time. Fallen hero. Balance breaker, they both said as their celestial armors were rebuilt. Kaio-san, what happened, said Rias. That bastard had the baby in an incubator that extracted Nero's powers. When I got there, Valerie was already there. We were going to get him out of there, but that bastard showed up and before anything else, he'd already taken some of Nero's power. Insignificant cockroaches. You guys really thought you were going to do something to me. Pathetic. I feel sorry for you, Valerie. I thought you could have been better than your pathetic father. How wrong I was. If only you had accepted my will, we could rule all the kingdoms and you could have been my heir. Never mind that anymore, I'll find new concubines who know what power and ambition are. Brisavam was feeling more power in him and just laughed. Perhaps that child's power was unlimited. Ahaha, look to the future. I thought Great Red Office and the Trihexa were the gods. I was wrong. I am the future ruler of this world and others besides this river runs wild. If my calculations are correct, the father of this child will come soon. I must prepare the altar before his arrival. Whatever you want. My brother won't let you out of this, old man. Enlighten me, Red Dragon. Who is your brother? The father of that baby is my brother and he won't tolerate what you did. It'll be a shame if he doesn't kill you because I'll be the one to cut off your head. Ahaha, what a coincidence. You say he's strong, I doubt it. But anyway, enough talk. I have something to do and your presence bothers me, false overlords. From what I see, they're surrounding me, but it'll be useless for them to do anything against me now. Haven't I shown off my new powers? We'll see, said Zerzich Lucifer. Valerie, I'm calling Kayasuk. Something red is happening. Yes. We have to give it our all. I know Albion has warned you about his power, just like Drake has warned me. If we combine our best techniques and attack him, we might survive. I'm listening. Just follow my steps. I'll trust you, Red. I won't let this killer get away with it. Thank you, he said as he moved forward. Vergil had a serious expression. He had just murdered 1,000 people who were, according to their leader, the best elite squad of demons. Elite, you morons. You didn't last long, and yet you dared to beg for mercy. He looks at someone trying to escape. But Vergil with sublime speed appeared in front of him and stabbed Yamato in his stomach. Forgive me. Pathetic false demon, you beg for mercy. Of course I'll give you some. Let out those sounds of pain and anguish. For that only increases my enjoyment, useless demon. Feed me your pain and beg for mercy. Ah, he screamed in agony as he felt the sword move with force, stirring his insides. But he was so weak that he died quickly. Just wait, my son. Dad has already found your whereabouts. Not even 1,000 years will be enough to hide the existence of these poor devils who claim to be demons. Let's see devil, it's time to show who commands and who serves, he said while a blue aura enveloped him. A huge explosion of power shook part of the capital Lilith and other places. Land. Place of the battle. You're pathetic and you dare to use the title of Lucifer. I feel sorry for you, Zerzich. Let's see what I do next. Maybe I'll let you witness the death of your loved ones, Risivam said, holding a seriously injured Lucifer by the neck. Or maybe I'll make you watch me extinguish your pathetic faction, don't you think, Michael? Maybe I'll pay your dear family a visit, he said, his foot hovering over the helpless angel Michael. Your faction is interesting. I heard from a reliable source that the falls are very lewd. This arrogant man said, looking from afar at Azazel next to his badly damaged armor. This bastard is just playing with us. If they're going to do something, do it now, Rias said, and dreaming that they had bought themselves some time. Then both celestial dragons began to gather all their power to strike with both celestial energies. We're done, said Kayasuk. Thanks, Valerie, leave the rest to me, he said, taking all the power from her. I'll leave it to you, she said, falling to the ground while her armor and all her power faded away. Blues, this ends now, he said as his armor transformed into energy and was deposited in his hand, which had all the powers of both. Now, he shouted, shooting out at Risivam. Amayu, Michael and Azazel were rescued by Sarair, Kiba and Saji. Taking advantage of the moment when Risivam was distracted. Rias and Sona attacked to make him release the leaders. Brediot and Sama, said Ross. This concentrated a spell that made him immobile and at the mercy of Kayasuk. You should believe that you can beat me, kid. This won't be the same as that time, he said, laughing. Kayasuk attacked with everything he had, generating a huge explosion that sent everyone flying, taking everything in its path with it. I did it, said the Citri clan. We won, said the rest of the Gremories. But Risivam had stopped his attack with one hand. Impossible. This energy surpassed a god. Hahaha. Shame on you, because right now you're standing before the most powerful god in the world. I'll give it back to you. He said, alarmed, this one. Bye-bye. BMMM. Beware. A new order awaits you, said Risivam. A hero falls and a god rises. The rules and who will serve. At that moment everything fell apart. The little hope had been defeated, Kayasuk lost to the cruelest and most ruthless demon. Risivam Liban Lucifer, or as it is now called. The new god. Coughed a little blood Valerie. His vision was blurry and his breathing was labored. She looked at the shadows. She saw Risivam walking with something in his arms. Nero, she said weakly as she crawled. Risivam set his sights on what was crawling. Jojo. So you're still alive, Risivam said mockingly. I have to save that baby, he's not to blame at all, he said as he crawled. Misfortune. That's what you chose. I offered you power and you spat in my face, said Risivam, lifting her up, then giving her a right hook to the face. Along with a knee to the stomach, which made Valerie shake. She fell to the ground. Pathetic, I curse that you have my blood in your veins, he said while stepping on her hand. Valerie let out a moan of pain. You don't deserve to be a Lucifer, you're not worthy, he shouted at her while continuing to kick her in the stomach. I must save, he said weakly. Spoiled girl, said he, stepping on her head. At that moment, Valerie was crying. Ahaha, that's music to my ears. Now beg me and ask for my forgiveness, and maybe, just maybe I can give you a quick and painless death. Not like now. Ahaha, ask me for forgiveness. He said this, putting more force on the albino's head. Vergil was on Earth. These presences are weakening. Kayasuk, his power is waning. Perhaps. I also manage to feel others, perhaps that is the one. That bastard. I feel my son's energies being. This one puts on a furious look. That damn bastard. Valerie was crying because the way she began to suffer was so much that she could no longer be conscious and was on the verge of collapse. While Risivam was still absorbing little Nero's powers. This created a throne from which he saw everything in his path. The unconscious leaders along with the clans. Beside them all. Kayasuk and Valerie were crucified. Both very injured. But Kaio, then, received the attack that he wanted to do to Risivam. Leaving him on the edge of the two worlds. Life and death. Risivam was making fun of Kayasuk. This one coughed blood. Damn it, kill me, said Kaio, very hurt. You know that if I raise my arm you'd no longer exist, but what's the point? I want you to look around you. Kayasuk looked around and saw everything destroyed. Valerie was at his side, very seriously ill, and the worst was yet to come. He saw Valerie spitting up blood that was somewhere between black and purple. That's it, he said weakly. It is, mate, said Dreg. Valerie resist, said Kayasuk, trying to get her attention. Valerie looked at him and smiled. Implying that she accepted her death. Her fate. My only regret is not having been able to save that baby, and what I hate even more. It's having been immature and not seeing the kind heart that always saw something in me. I'll reincarnate as many times as necessary and find my soulmate, she said, falling unconscious. Valerie, grido Kaio. Flap 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 applaudio risivum. Beautiful and encouraging words, Valerie. It's a shame that can't be done. Said Kaisuke in anger. Shut up, kid, he said, standing up and slapping him very hard. Everything fell silent in the place. I hope you like the stage I prepared especially for you, said Risivum with his back turned. Vergil looked at everything in his path. The leaders who mocked his invincibility were torn to pieces. The Gremory clan was a little better than the leaders. The Citri group is a little worse than Rias and his deer. Something caught his attention. It was those two a few meters away from him. Valerie and Kaisuke who were crucified. I told you not to do something stupid, said Vergil. Sorry bro, I let you down. Yes, you did. I told you not to do unnecessary things. Now I'll have to help you. Vergil walked past Risivum. I ignored. Vergil unleashes Yamato and cuts him. Kaisuke falls into Vergil's arms and continues on his way, ignoring the other clans, but please take her too. You don't know what she did to get here. Her efforts are worthy of admiration. Vergil sighed and from one moment to the next he had Valerie on his back. Let's see, suppose God. Who commands and who will serve? Risivum smiles arrogantly and says. We'll see, when I capture you. You and your son will be put to good use until I get tired and kill you. You mean this, baby, said Vergil, who from one moment to the next had Nero in his arms. How did you do it? I will teach you what power is. Said Risivum, launching a large-scale attack of demonic energy. But their mistake was two things. Underestimating me and the other one. It was messing with my son, he said with a deep and penetrating look that easily intimidated Risivum. Never judge a book by its cover. Dreams and desires. At that moment I felt immersed in what was darkness. Something that would never have been possible to escape from that limbo. I yearned for power, but every time I grew stronger, I felt a part of me darken. For years I put aside the hope that someone would one day rescue me from the hell I had been subjected to for so long. I broke that longed-for happiness and love I once had. Only to turn it into darkness and give myself a purpose in life. When I had finally earned the title of the strongest White Empress dragon in history. A smile spread across my face. Everyone respected me and did my bidding. I started to gain followers. For a long time, I thought of them as tools, but you appeared like a light, your dazzling and beautiful brown eyes pierced that layer of darkness inside me. I thought I would be alone all my life, which carried a great burden. Which you would have carried with me if necessary, but you already know the rest. I felt so happy when you said you loved me, but as always, I blew it. When I learned later that you loved those Gremory girls, I felt furious. But I stood back and, as always, did nothing. I felt a great satisfaction when Kuroka rejected you and humiliated you, or when she told me that that Gremory girl was just playing with your heart. I felt ecstatic emotion seeing you suffer. I knew deep down that some of your pain made me feel bad. Albion told me the same thing. But I always looked at you like an ant. Maybe deep down I was protecting you and doing nothing because I wanted my revenge first. But I know deep down that I only pushed you away from me when you most needed someone to tell your feelings to. How pathetic I am, I can't even do anything to help myself, and instead you are helping me, said Valerie while she was carried by Vergil on his back. Vergil threw Kaisuke to the ground. He slowly dropped Valerie. She looks into his eyes and sees that they are no longer what she once saw. Full of life and happiness back then. Now they were a very penetrating blue, someone carrying a great burden on their shoulders. She smiles and faints. I saw you in a dream, but you were still the same, I ran down that road. As if chasing an unattainable memory. I blamed myself for trying so hard and never reaching you. My heart was left behind. If it really was a dream, I will never be able to get you back. For some strange reason I still long for that day. Did I waste all my time lamenting in this dull world without you? What is this place? Valerie said upon waking up in what seemed like the dark infinity. Something in front of her showed itself. They were memories from long ago. She stood up and looked. It's the deepest part of your heart. You could say that I am or was your thread of destiny. Hey, thread of destiny. You see. In this world, the different destinies of everyone here have already been formed. And you. You broke yours not long ago. What are you taking about? See for yourself. She looks and sees something. An image was projected and it was Vergil. It seemed to have something red covering it. She looked at herself and likewise something red covered it. When I look at those red silhouettes, you can see that hers and his were joining together. Unless he saw something and it was that it was cut. She said. Is this Issei? He was your soulmate, your better half. The love of your life. How did this happen? Don't you remember? Look at the picture. She looks and sees something. Flashback. I love you, please be my girlfriend, said Issei with a letter, where he narrated his love for Valerie, where he offered her his heart for all eternity. Ahaha, Valerie laughed seeing a letter that he was offering her. Boy, I admit that you are cute and everything. But. Valerie looked down at what was about to happen. You're dead weight and my team doesn't carry dead weight. If you're not even strong and I, the great white empress, need someone worthy of my height and not some stupid human who is trampled by everyone. So do me a favor and save these pathetic feelings, she said taking the letter calling everyone's attention and humiliating him by tearing it up in front of everyone leaving the place with a satisfied smile on her way, leaving a very hurt and very broken Issei. In the distance was Valor and seeing how Issei started to cry. She gloated over his pain and said. And to think I fell in love with someone as pathetic as you. Then flashback. You see it. At that moment you broke your thread. You rejected your destiny. No. I can't fix that, just give me a chance. Why said that entity? Fate has already changed their futures. Right now new futures are being made and time has already changed. You will never be able to see your children. What she said shocked. Valerie. In an alternate reality. You accepted him, he found his other half, becoming the strongest warrior of all time. He stopped the war, becoming the strongest in the world. You and he gave birth to 2 babies. Mira. Valerie looks closely and what she sees leaves her speechless. They were her children. From her and Issei in another line. Those kids had great futures. But it's no longer possible. She looks and out of nowhere they both vanished. That happened when their destinies broke. Those children will not be born. Valerie. You broke your destiny, you rejected love for power. New destinies are being forged. Please give me a chance to fix my mistake. I'm sorry. Even if I wanted to. My power isn't enough to put you back on their path. Virgil is already beyond my reach. His power is beyond your reach. If I told you this. It's because your destiny is about to end. Your death will be imminent and I can't do anything. I'm just here to guide you to a new plane of life. I'll see you in a while, Valerie. When you die, I'll come for you. Valerie was left alone. She thought and saw. They were her children. They had Issei's brown hair and her eyes. At that moment he started to cry. Her destiny. The one she rejected out of power. Now all that's left is to have dreams and yearn for what their lives together would have been like. Because the love of her life already has a life and she can't do anything about it. Because he doesn't love her anymore. Dreams and desires that never were. Virgil had his indifferent gaze towards Rias. Several minutes had passed in which he attacked him, and Virgil, who still had Nero in his arms, still couldn't even do anything to him because the defense that Virgil exerted was incredibly monstrous. Since some of his attacks bounced and managed to hit him. And what about his power that was beginning to run out? Because he thought that if he attacked with everything he had he could stop him, and in some carelessness, he could attack him and do it like he did with little Nero. Capturing him in the capsule that absorbed and transferred his powers to him. Nai-san said Kyosuke, seeing blurred how his brother was not affected by the attacks of the damned Rias. He looked to the side and saw an unconscious Valerie with blood pouring from her mouth. He looked closely and noticed how her veins were beginning to turn black. Starting to expand from her heart to the rest of her body. Valerie, hang on. Greg, is there something that can be done for her? In the history of dragons, there have never been cases of how to solve the dragonfall. Why did this originate? Because of her. The pain that your brother caused her. Was her trigger. It's weird to say, but if you realize in everything that happened last year she indirectly asked or made some comment about him. On more than one occasion I used the bilingual ability on her and it's weird but she loves your brother Issei with all her heart and the fact of seeing him again weeks ago and seeing him with a son. Possibly led her to a feeling of pain and sadness, thinking that he was already with someone else and more the fact that he humiliated her like she did in the past to him. It was her trigger that made her fall into the dragon's curse. If she were more demon than dragon, it would have been possible to save herself but she was transformed into part dragon by the. That's how it is. Valerie doesn't deserve to die. Buddy. We don't decide who lives and who dies. Maybe she thinks that by being like this she can atone for her past mistakes. Valerie. She was unconscious. But she dreamed of something that could have been. Inside the dream. Valerie walked with a fragrant smile on her face. She was holding Issei's hand. He had a brown appearance and his aura was that of a human. I really still can't believe that you really agreed to go out with me, said Issei with a smile. Don't get so excited. She said, blushing. Also if you cheat on me about Castro. Issei stops and says something while looking into her eyes. The moment you said yes. My heart will only be yours. And even if you were to hurt me, I will always wait for you because you are my world. There will be no distractions in this life that will make me doubt my love for you. And if I don't know how else I can tell you that I love you. I will spend every day of what is left of my life to tell you how much you mean to me in this life. He takes her hand and leads her to his heart. See how my heart beats for you right now. From the moment I saw you, it had already begun to beat fiercely. Valerie, even with all your hatred in this world, and if everyone turns their backs on you, I'm willing to make the world my enemy for you. Issei said, Valerie crying for hearing such words from him. He loves you like you have no idea, Valerie. Now there's something worth fighting for, comrade. That's Albion. I fought for him with all my soul. I'll never let anyone hurt him. She said, taking his face and saying. I love you, Hyodou Issei. And then they proceed to give each other their first kiss. Time passed and something happened in Issei. A great radical change occurred. This change caused Issei to change and become a little serious. But his feelings never changed. Issei changed the world forever. He brought peace and united all the factions. He became a person full of hope. He and Valerie disappeared from the radar for a while. Until it was finally revealed that they had both brought 2 children into the world. Time passed and both children who were born from a loving fruit became an important part of the world. While Valerie and Vergil lived a happy life. She was happy by his side. Because despite his pride he never doubted and accepted her feelings. Unfortunately, the beautiful thing did not last. Because that dream crumbled when that presence came and destroyed the illusion and said. Why hurt yourself more, Valerie? You know these dreams will never exist. Even if that doesn't happen. I want to leave this world. Thinking that my dream could have been by your side. She said, smiling with sadness. In reality. I told you to bow down to me. You could have died without much pain. But by messing with my family, you lost that chance. Vergil had a bleeding wrist of him on the ground. He put his foot on his head and said. Demon suffers. And he sank his foot into the ground. He picked it up and said. I don't care how many people you've already killed, these people. None of them interest me. It would have been fine if you had done something to them. Well, there is one thing, and that is that these people mean nothing to me. Your big mistake was thinking you could break into my home and kidnap my son without retribution. He grabs his face and says. Now take your punishment for messing with my son and my brother. He said this, putting pressure on something to make something thunder and Risavum scream. It was all over. This path and reached his son. He carried him, but Vergil noticed something, and it was that Nero was boiling in temperature and his breathing was slowing down. Nero, what's going on? Said this upset guy. Unexpected help. Why me? Valerie was talking to that person. Wanting to claim her great love for him. But she told him. You don't understand. I know your story and you've suffered until now. I accept that, but not as much as him and your cruel contempt. I assure you that this is the first time I have seen pure and sincere love. When I saw that Issei boy, I could swear he put a doubt in me. I thought all people on earth were cruel and ruthless. What do you mean? See for yourself. Issei 16 years old. A year ago, listen to the music. I wanted to see you. The fact of seeing your face for the first time. Your eyes. Your soft and tenuous skin. At that very moment I fell madly in love with you. When I first learned about the supernatural world, it didn't interest me. But when I saw you, I knew I wanted to hold your hand for life and walk beside you for the rest of my life. I wanted to be a demon and be strong so I could get your attention. I started helping Rias Gremory in whatever was necessary so that she would see potential in me and reincarnate me as part of her family. That's why. I started to lower myself to anything she and the other girls asked me to do. Back then I trained, but I couldn't do it. I had the body of a human. Many times I despised myself for not having the talent my brother had for fighting. Sometimes I even felt hatred for him and for myself for being weak. I realized that Rias and the others gave me special affection. I felt happy when I saw how they congratulated me or sometimes gave me affection. That's why I also fell in love with them. But you were more special. My love for you was stronger. I felt like there was a bond that united us. I sometimes put you in my book. I couldn't see you in person. That's why I carved your face into my memory. I closed my eyes to dream of you because only then could I see you. The second time I saw you was at school. I saw you challenge my brother to a fight. Your passion for fighting. Your fighting spirit made me see that you were amazing. When you and Kyasu tied, you felt badly wounded from your battle. I saw you were in bad shape and quickly approached you. You were half unconscious. I tore my shirt and started wiping away the blood on your face. You woke up and abruptly took me away from you. I felt so much pain because you didn't measure your strength and I almost flew away. You woke up in pain. You Gave me a dirty look and left. It was at that moment that for the first time I had felt a great pain, a great oppression in my heart. I just wanted to help you. I didn't want to make you uncomfortable. The day came when I heard from my brother that you would go accompany your friend named Kuroka to see Kaneko-chan at the academy. I didn't sleep that day. Issei was at his desk writing a love letter. After writing it, he went downstairs to get a bottle of water. Without noticing, someone had entered his room, seen the letter, and read it. He began to laugh at how pathetic she thought he was for recounting all that there. Academy day. Issei was in front of Valerie. I know I'm not like the people around you. I'm not as strong as the people around you. But if you'd accept me, I swear I'll make you the happiest person in the world. From that moment on, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't stop thinking about you. And I know there is something that unites us. So please accept to be my girlfriend, Valerie, he said, giving her the letter where he expressed his love, and right there he opened the doors of his heart for all eternity. But. Laughter? Valerie said, Issei, surprised by those laughs of hers. Kid, I don't know what you're playing at. Yeah, you're cute. But. You're a weak human. I admit you have your charm, and maybe I like you, but you're weak, and I don't need bulk in my gear. Valerie gets up and walks around, turns her face, and says the following. I'm sorry, but a weakling doesn't go well with the strongest white empress dragon in history, as she shattered the letter he had given her in front of him. She spreads her wings, notices how Issei has his gaze lowered, and a tear falls from it. Something broke and what held them together fell apart. End of flashback. You see it, Valerie. Now you know their pain. At that moment Valerie was looking down. Said entity saw her and noticed how her thread was broken. Your time is coming. I'll give you a few minutes. That person said, leaving her alone. The pinnacle of a Nephilim. Nero, what's up? He said, seeing as if his son was burning with heat. Vergil touched his forehead and noticed that his son had a high temperature. Which little by little made him make strange faces, as if he were in pain. Son, what's happening? Ha 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 ha. I heard laughter coming from a dying Risavim. Damn what you did to my son. Risavim gets up and even with some power that he took from the little Nero. He tries to face Vergil and tries to land a blow. If it weren't for Kyasu quickly charging Nero and Vergil blocking his attack and counter-attacking. He gives a good rejection that breaks one of the pillars. He hits him in the face and then knees him in the face. They then charge him and slam him against the ground. Risavim, dizzy from those blows, just laughed and started saying. I put a plan B in place. In case of even a tiny glitch in this plan. I did something I'm not entirely proud of. But if those powers weren't mine. They wouldn't be anyone else's either. So I poisoned little Nero. That way I would kill two birds with one stone. The baby dies and has caused enough psychological damage to the father. Don't you find it funny, my dear Vergil-san, or should I say Hyodou Issei? Ha ha ha. Amidst all the laughter, Vergil gets annoyed and hits him hard in the chest, causing him to bury himself further into the ground. Vergil quickly goes to Nero and takes him from his brother, who was very hurt but still aware of the whole situation. I'm sorry, bro. I should have finished this bastard when I had the chance, and I let my pride get the better of me back then, if I had thrown him out. Nero. Isuke looks away in shame. None of this is anyone's fault. We were both given burdens and struggles that were not ours. They placed a burden on you that wasn't yours, these were their problems, but they always run away from everything and put their hopes in someone else because they don't have the courage to do something for themselves. Vergil said, seeing what remained of the fainted leaders and groups of Jais. And me. The pain forced me to be this thing they call a monster, he said, turning to see what he once loved. Lying on the ground with black blood coming out of her mouth. We both had to carry things that were not our responsibility, brother, said Vergil. Itaudo, said Kasuga, moved. Vergil notices that Nero was still suffering from the poison. Haha, the cure no longer exists. I burned everything, haha. Vergil lifts Nero in his arms and rises into the sky with his son. Issei, said Kyosuke. Don't worry, son. Dad will never leave you alone. Dad will fix you. At that moment everything went dark out of nowhere. Little by little all the faction leaders were waking up along with the members of the Citri and Gremory teams. Just to watch how the most beautiful and pure wings lit up the sky that made it look like eternal night in the sky. So that a flash of light will illuminate it. Vergil descended next to an already cured Nero. Along with Arisavim, terrified by the enormous power emanating from Vergil. It's impossible. My calculation said that the baby was more powerful than you. I never imagined that a Nephilim could exist. I thought it was a legend that they really existed. But I saw that it was not a legend. But a very credible absolute truth. I told you never to mess with my son. Vergil said, walking with his motto in his hands. And a Nero in the arms of his uncle Kyosuke, who was shocked to see his brother with such power. This is what you meant by Nephilim Drake. Wow, this could be considered a miracle. Two opposites united into one. Drake said through the gauntlet. I hope you save your last words because this will be what your useless and pathetic life will see, stupid demon. Vergil said angrily. This is what my brother meant with that guy. What beautiful wings. Are they similar to the wings of said someone watching all this from the sky? Although he was left watching a baby with his uncle who, strangely enough, was left with a beautiful smile when he saw Vergil ending the life of Arisivum. Of which nothing remained. But rather pieces which Vergil easily destroyed. Vergil sheathed Yamato. He walked up to his brother. He took Nero and said. Let's get out of this place, he said with his back turned. Isuke said, Vergil walking. Wait, brother. Please help Valerie. But those powers you have, you could save her. Stop right there. I told you these are none of my business. Whether those people there live or die is of no concern to me, as he points to all the leaders and groups there who were trying to rise up. And much less that woman seriously looking at Vili. But bro, she did more for Nero than you think. I already thanked you for your help. So I don't owe anyone anything. So let's go now, he said, glaring at Kaisuke with his serious gaze. That look really scared him. Please brother, at least do it for old time's sake. She's dying because of you. Because of the dragon's fall. Isuke said, ending the discussion with that last thing. And that to me. Please help Valerie. But those powers you have, you could save her. Stop right there, Kaisuke, I told you these are none of my business. Whether those people there live or die is of no concern to me, as he points to all the leaders and groups there who were trying to rise up. Well, they listened to what Vergil and his brother were talking about. Even more so when you hear how this person doesn't even care whether they live or die. This gives that feeling of pain to those who now want to correct past mistakes. And much less that woman seriously looking at Valerie, who was lying on the ground while the blood became more and more present on her. Giving a bad sign. Something that alerted Kuroka, and she went with difficulty to her and tried to see what was happening to her. But bro, she did more for Nero than you think. I already thanked you for your help. So I don't owe anyone anything. What else do you want me to do? So let's go now, he said, glaring at Kaisuke with his serious gaze. That look really scared him. Please brother, at least do it for old time's sake. She's dying because of you. Because of the dragon's fall. Isuke said, ending the discussion with that last thing. Jump. Old times you say. What old times you talk about? In the old days I used to crawl out of love. For those women, he said while pointing at the Gremory. Or to the person who made me suffer the most and made me question why I hated myself for being weak. This answers your old question, bro. Isuke didn't know what to say. Although he knew what his younger brother's story was with his mistress and the other members of his group, and the worst part, he felt the saddest for seeing him suffer for Valerie. Issei yo. But he only felt a great pressure of name in the air that made him feel afraid. I told you never to say that pathetic name in front of me again. Maybe in this world your powers can kill gods. But that doesn't mean it applies to beings from other worlds, or am I wrong, brother, he said with a sharp look at his brother. I'm sorry, he said, resigning himself to the fact that this really won't help Valerie. If you're done. Let's go, she said, turning around with Nero in her arms, and Kaisuke sad to see how the end of the White Empress Dragon would be. Wait. As far as I remember, I have no business with you. Nekomata. I know it's a lot to ask and maybe coming from me. But I saw and you can do something. If you use those powers, like you did a few moments ago with that baby. You could save his life. True. Vergil turns around and says. Wise, despite being one of the last. It seems your species wasn't as stupid as it seemed. That really bothered her. And she knew she couldn't say anything because he deserved it for what he did to her in the past by playing with him and humiliating him every time she saw him. You can do it then. Yes. But why should I help her? As far as I know, I don't care about her at all, nor does she care about me. The reason for his descent is because of you. In the race of dragons. A rejection could end your life. And when you saw her. You rejected her in the cruelest way possible. It's partly your fault that she's like this. So please help her. She doesn't deserve to die for her past sins. If that person you were in the past still exists. You could save her. Please, she said, kneeling on the ground, pleading. But. I'm sorry, Nekomata. I can help you, but I don't see why I should. Well, you say that unrequited love can kill a dragon. I must say then that the dragon race is the most pathetic and disappointing I've ever seen in my life. Beings with unimaginable powers dying so pathetically. Because of a simple curse. Being the most feared in their history. Just to know their weak spot. I said it before. The Lucifer will still be pathetic even on his deathbed, he said as if nothing had happened, to the incredulous gaze of everyone there. I feel sorry for my younger self for having fallen in love with someone as weak and pathetic as her. Issei clenched his fists in anger. But there was nothing he could do. He knew it was all true, and while he knew it, it was also Valerie's fault for having been cruel more than once to an Issei who was kind and pure-hearted. Tasama Daiho Kuroka. Valerie began to die, and yet she didn't care as long as she saved that baby. She could have even lived longer. If she hadn't forced herself into battle. She loves you even more than her own life. And you see that those who hurt you in the past, including me, have already paid for their mistakes and now just want to make amends and start over. Vergil shook his head. Neither you nor they are worth my time. Sort yourselves out from now on. Neither Kayasuke nor I will do anything from now on. And that includes you, Gremory. Especially you. Pointing at Rias with Yamato. From this moment on my brother will no longer be under your command. At that moment Vergil sheathes Yamato. And he cuts his brother. He screams for a moment. But then he sees 8 pawn pieces fall to the ground. Brother, what did you do? Your life debt has been paid. You've done so much for that woman. From now on, you're free and you owe nothing to anyone. Not even those idiots who claim to be the strongest of their factions. You thought I didn't know that you used the advantage of having kidnapped Nero so that I would get rid of your enemies for you. You know it. If they come, I'll kill them. At that moment he was already leaving. But just at that moment, Vergil was attacked by. You don't learn truth. Brother. Sort yourselves out from now on. Neither Kayasuke nor I will do anything from now on. And that includes you, Gremory. Especially you. Pointing at Rias with Yamato. From this moment on my brother will no longer be under your command. At that moment Vergil sheathes Yamato. And he cuts his brother. He screams for a moment. But then he sees that he has no wounds, but he sees 8 pawn pieces fall to the ground. Brother, what did you do? I thought you. Your life debt has been paid. You've done so much for that woman. From now on, you're free and you owe nothing to anyone. Not even those idiots who claim to be the strongest of their factions. You thought I didn't know that you used the advantage of having kidnapped Nero so that I would get rid of your enemies for you. I should have known better. They look for excuses for someone to make their life easier. I am amazed to see how your people still live under your protection. I was once called pathetic and weak. That was a poor choice of words. You guys are the pathetic, weak, and useless ones. But it's common for unimportant people like you. People like that aren't worth my time. You know it. If they come, I'll kill them. Like I did with that idiot. At that moment he was already leaving. But just at that moment, Vergil was attacked by. The large sword almost pierced him. If it weren't for the fact that he easily dodged it and the sword stuck close to him. And you say I'm the spiteful one. You don't believe it, Dante, he said, looking up. He looks at him and smiles. You say that, but you had enough balls to come to me and then run off with all my money. You really are a vile bastard. Vergil smiles at that because he would have paid to see Dante's reaction when he saw that he no longer had his money. Vergil smiles and causes great annoyance to Dante, who films him with his gaze. Kayasuke stayed out of it all. So that person is your twin brother. That's right, Kayasuke. This idiot is my twin brother where I'm from. Don't you notice how similar we are? That idiot and I. Kayasuke looked at them for a moment and really stood still when he saw how similar they were. Who is that boy? Why do I call you brother Vergil? Long story. Then. From one moment to another. Both disappeared from everyone's sight. While sounds of sword clashing were heard. It looks like you've improved, Vergil. I say the same thing, Dante. But in the end we know who always wins, or am I wrong? Don't you think, Vergil? Just words coming from you. Did you start reading books to improve your intelligence, which is the size of a walnut? Your little joke about my money wasn't nice at all. Seriously. You resorted to stealing all my money. Vergil just lets out a laugh. What's funny? I know you owe a lot of money. But it would have been worth it to see your face or the faces of your debt collectors when they saw you didn't pay them. They probably raised their interest rates because of that joke, right? Dante. This time you really went too far, Vergil. You'll pay back that money and I'll drag you back home. You'll pay back that money piece by piece. It would be fun to see them charge you. But I can't go back yet. Not until my son grows up and can defend himself. Never ask his name. Black Sparda. Good name. Let's get this over with. I need to get my money out of your ass. So get going and fight. At that moment both were going to fight again. This fight was going to another level. But. Nero started to cry. When that happened. Vergil opened a portal and left quickly. Dante stood there without saying anything. Who is that guy and why does he look like Issei? There are things you still don't know about my brother. But one thing is clear. That guy over there. He's Itado's twin. Everyone was in shock. Maybe your parents. I know what they will say and what they want. This is really something very strange to explain. I will really give answers later. Now we have something to attend to. Watching Valerie, who was vomiting blood in torrents. Her complexion grew paler and her veins were prominent all over her body. But those veins were black. What's happening to Valerie? They said most of them have recovered. He's dying and no. It's not because of the fight. It's something with his heart. Dragon. Hi Ibu. Moments later. He could survive if Issei-san would accept his feelings. Unfortunately not. His illness is already advanced and he's just dying. Dante heard all this from afar and saw that girl in his direction. He approached her and looked closely. Valerie opened her eyes and looked at him. You're not Issei. You look a lot like him, but you're not him. Who are you? Wow, this is the first time someone has managed to locate us. How did you do it? I don't know. I just know you're not him. But I know I could recognize him from thousands of miles away. Do you love Virgil? So much so that I would die for him. I heard about those people, your story with him. Tell me, is what they said true? Dante said. That's right. But it was my choice at the time. I don't blame him for rejecting me. Deep down I knew it would be a miracle if he accepted me. But it's always okay to dream. You only live to love once. If you're her brother, you could save her. Kuroka approached Dante. You have those powers. No. I couldn't. I'm sorry. Don't worry. I knew I didn't have much time left. And he just looked at her and noticed that she was happy. At that moment Virgil arrived. With a bottle. He quickly picked Nero up and fed him. Calm down. Dad's here. He calmed him down because the baby was crying. Little by little Nero closed his eyes. Dante approached Virgil and said. You can save her. Virgil looked at him and said. Indifference or hypocrisy. At that moment Virgil arrived. With food for little Nero. He quickly took Nero and fed him. Calm down. Dad's here. He calmed him down because the baby was crying from hunger. Little by little Nero closed his eyes with a smile and Virgil was satisfied. Then. Dante approached Virgil and said the following. You can save her. Virgil looked at him and said. Are you serious? That arrogant guy is asking me to save that woman. He said this while looking at her with indifference. I told him and them. He doesn't owe me anything and I don't owe him anything. If you came just for that, you better go home, brother. Humming and going from there to here made your brain melt. So much dimensional energy has left you nuts. Dante just sighed and said. I'm no expert on such things. But from the look on that girl's face. She's madly in love with you and I can tell you were madly in love with her. As if something were uniting them. You're right about that, Dante. I was. At that moment Virgil thought of something she told him a long time ago. Valerie, who was leaning on Kuroka's shoulder, only looked sad. Virgil took Nero with his left arm and with his right hand he took Yamato and gave a cut that opened the doors to the other dimension from which they come. I know that's not why you came, Dante. So you better go home now. I still have things to fix in this world. Dante sighs and says. It's not necessary, but yes. I came for something, but I already found it. He said, holding a strange object in his hand. I know I'm not one to give advice, much less give it to someone who has often wanted to kill me. But consider it, brother. I see her pain in her eyes. She suffers from love for you. Like the old me I did. Jump. This is pathetic, that someone who claimed to be superior is dying in such a pathetic way and that those who had humiliated me for lack of ability now ask me for help. I don't know, but this is called hypocrisy, said Virgil with his back turned. Goodbye, Dante. Dante just sighs and enters the portal. I'm sorry I couldn't do more, and so he left. The portal closes. Everyone looks in Virgil's direction. He spreads his demon wings and says. I made things easy for you factions. Don't look for me and I won't look for you. Do not provoke me and I will not annihilate you. Don't talk to me and I won't do anything to you. Look no further, my brother. We don't owe each other anything. Let's go, Kyosuke. Hello there. Everyone watched this scene helplessly. Kyosuke just looked at Valerie and said the following. I'm sorry, as he shed tears of helplessness at not being able to help his rival. At that moment they both left the place and only a deep silence remained. Plus. Little by little, the allied clans managed to reintegrate and heal themselves with the help of Asia's healing magic. No one dared to say anything about what was happening. They only heard Kuroka's pitiful cries as she hugged Valerie, who just looked at the sky with a smile. Giving him the impression that he had long since resigned himself to what awaits him. Valerie, you. She smiles as she sheds a tear. You did what you could, I appreciate that. She said, patting the Nekomata's head. Valerie said, she crying while hugging her. Everyone in the alliance saw this with sadness. If only there was something to do. Something to suppress the poison and find a way to get a cure from there. Unless she helps us. Who are you referring to, Michael? Auden said, curious. The seraph just smiled. Because she might be able to help. The time full of peace. Virgil was sitting outside his house on a bench. At that moment he didn't have his typical battle suit, along with that huge blue trench coat that made him stand out his seriousness, along with his hair slicked back. Well, this one was wearing normal clothes. Which consisted of a dark blue long-sleeved shirt, black pants, and normal boots. His hair wasn't like usual, but this time his brother Dante has it. He was smiling happily. Well, being like this. This one was looking at Nero. It's good to be like this sometimes. They make me remember when I had my other life. He smiles tenderly at his son. Now everything is as it should be, my son, said Virgil, holding Nero in his arms. Elsewhere. Mom, Dad, me. Don't worry, Kaisuke. We understand that you have to fly. We knew that one day it would happen. Just please eat well and please if you see him. Tell him that. Mother, please let's not touch on that subject anymore. He doesn't want that. We've already resigned ourselves to it, it's just that. There are times when we think that your brother never did anything wrong. Maybe it was our fault, thinking he'd be like you, and we made mistakes by always comparing the two of us. We didn't realize how much we were hurting him. Please don't talk about it anymore. Things are like this now and it's better to bury that in the past. We just ask that you take care of him and our grandson. His mother said she had a photo on her phone of Virgil and Nero together. Which he had taken from afar. I'll do it, Mom. Bye-bye. Take care, son. And so Kaisuke left his house with suitcases. A year later. I'm going to college, bro. Kaisuke said. Virgil walked towards the shelf. He grabbed some things and left. You forgot this. That's true, thanks Nai-sama. And so here and to college. Nero, who was already showing his first signs of wanting to walk. He crawled to where his father was. Virgil picked him up and the baby made signs to say goodbye to his uncle. Let's go in, Nero. Virgil walked, grabbed some things, and left the house. This way and went to the supermarket to do the shopping. As he went on his way, he didn't notice that he had been seen by an old acquaintance. Issei-san, said a blonde with green eyes. After what happened a year ago. In the battle between the factions and the fact that the pillar Kaisuke Hyodou resigned and his younger brother gave them that ultimatum that they leave him and his brother alone or else. They would suffer the same thing that Virgil did to Risivum, which was worse than death itself. The worst and most agonizing torture. Kaisuke changed schools at Virgil's request and moved in with him. As soon as the factions were all over, it was over. The relationship between the Red Emperor Dragon and all the leaders was severed. Nowadays everyone lives well. There are no wars. Conflicts. Fights for power, etc. If you ask about her. Live. Since she was a member of his team, she took pity on her and made a deal with him for a body. If you're wondering, he's alive, but otherwise, you're strictly forbidden to approach him again, otherwise something could happen to him. Only she can be seeing him in photos or miles away from him. Regretting his mistake every day. She knows well that he and she were destined. Because she saw how things were in another world. But now. Just look at the moon and smile sadly at the change of decision. One decision changed everything. Virgil was walking home. In one arm he carried Nero and in the other he carried the things he bought. When he suddenly bumped into someone and made them throw their things. That person helped him and while she was helping him put things in their place and apologize, she looked him in the eyes and. The angel who came down from heaven. And what was Nero Nai-sama's mother like? Virgil looks at the window and says. She was loud, unbearable and sometimes very annoying. Kaisuke smiled somewhat uncomfortably. But she was kind and never gave up on me. Despite the immense dangers of knowing who Vergil Sparda was and knowing everything he was getting into to be with me, she did that and more. She sacrificed her freedom to stay by my side at all times. And above all. He sacrificed his life for the life of our son. She was the first woman who didn't give up on the process. She knew what I was like and still always told me she loved me every day. For all eternity. You'll know the rest. Watching little Nero eat. She was very important to you, wasn't she, brother? Virgil smiles at that comment. That's right. She's the love of my life. And how did she? Virgil smiles melancholically. She gave her life to protect Nero. That's why I exterminated every single demon in my world. Her in time. I'm sorry. Said a female voice. I'll help you. She bent down and picked up Virgil's things. She put them in the bag, walked over to him, and placed them neatly in his free hand. But there was something. Nero looked at her and smiled. So much so that he threw himself from my arms to go into her arms. She grabbed it and gave a huge smile. I can't say how, but Nero was happy in her arms. You're a very cute baby. What's your name, baby? His name is Nero, said Virgil. It's a nice name, isn't it, Nero? She smiles at him and he starts laughing, but he was fine. An image came to mind. And it was when she held him for the first time. She put her cheek to his and cried. But he had the same smile. Nero, what a beautiful smile you have. She picks him up. She comes up to me and I leave Nero in my arms. By the way, my name is Gabriel. A pleasure. Vergil. Vergil Sparda. She smiled and said. You're the warrior who saved my brother. Virgil understood. When he was beginning to understand the supernatural world. He read something about someone. Gabriel. Angel whose beauty captivates the entire world. Understanding and of great intellect, she is also a warrior archangel. She played a major role in the war against the invasion, led by her fallen brother. Samuel. Whose name changed to Lucifer. Virgil smiled. You have misinterpreted it. I didn't save anyone. I just protected my son. What do you mean? It doesn't matter. If there are no more things to do. I'm leaving. Seraph and Gabriel. Neri, let's go. And as if it were something cliché, Nero cried. He stretched out his little arms towards Gabriel, who had the urge to pick him up again. Virgil didn't understand anything and couldn't do anything either. Gabriel had an idea. You know. There's a park near here. If he plays and gets distracted maybe he won't cry. Virgil agreed and they both walked to the park. Highlighting both. Virgil. For his natural beauty and his physical appearance. But Gabriel radiating peace and harmony. Along with her enormous beauty. And a happy black man in her arms. Smiling at her. Definitely a couple. That's what people thought. But far away from there it only meant something to someone. Seeing that just broke his heart. Even though I was meters away from him. I could see him from afar and smile while crying. Life is sometimes unfair. Just like the decisions you make, and that's something she'll regret for the rest of her life. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.